जनता, वेलकम टू आवर पॉडकास्ट गुड ओल्डीज। आज हमारे साथ हैं रिति मोहपात्रा, a 2008 graduate from IIT Kharagpur. She is currently a partner at the Jobsons Group. She has built her long consulting career at McKinsey and Company. Hi Riti, very warm welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you Neha.
So Riti, so you have spent more than 10 years at McKinsey and Company, and I don't know who was the last IITian I met who spent so long at one company. मेरे बैच में हर कोई कंपनी चेंज कर रहा है with no reason. So exactly क्या हुआ? Either you didn't let the McKinsey go or McKinsey didn't let you go.
I think a bit of both. Honestly speaking, I think I enjoyed the work, the people a lot at McKinsey. मैंने जब शुरू किया था, I had not imagined that I would stay this long. I had joined from Kharagpur, तो मुझे लगा 2-3 साल का ही maximum stint होगा, but I enjoyed my time there, and McKinsey maybe there were a lot of opportunities created that made sense to me, that excited me at that point in time. Even after maternity, when I came back to work, McKinsey made it sort of very easy for me to come back to work, give me a part-time option, keep my location constraints in mind. So all of that worked really well, and I think that kept me at McKinsey for a long time.
Yeah, it's nice. So, Riti, we will go back to your KGP days and try to find that formula of perseverance, commitment, longevity, and all the good words in a dictionary that the current kids, I'm sure they don't know. So, Riti, was it the mess food or Tinku's at Chedi's canteen food which fed you with commitment and perseverance? Was it?
I think it was SN ki chai, mostly, more than anything else. I think SN ki chai, veggies ki chai, eggies ki chai. It was more the chai than the food.
But chai lover hai.
Yeah. And the thing with chai is it's always best when you have it with friends, not alone. So
Yeah.
I think I fondly remember, and if I think back to the times where I have chatted the most or expressed myself the most or felt like I belonged the most, have been times with friends with a cup of tea in my hand. So I would
Wow.
say chai more than food.
Okay. Riti, you were quite good in the sphere of KGP, in the social sphere of KGP life. You were the part of Hindi Dramatic Society and the English Dramatic Society both, and you were an active member of Spring Fest, the cultural festival student body at KGP. But at the same time, like with the most of the colleges, the culture of Kharagpur was mostly men-led, right? So how did you survive there? Not just survive, you flourished with the environment of this men-led society. And also, do you think that our current culture of corporate world mimics the same culture of men-led society? So what do you think?
So I think at Kharagpur, uh, you mentioned drams, right? Hindi
Yeah.
drams, English drams, SF. I think for some time my parents were confused कि तुम खड़गपुर में करती क्या हो, तो पढ़ती कब हो? You speak less about
पढ़ाई.
पढ़ाई, आज ये ड्राम्स किया, ये परफॉर्मेंस किया, ये इवेंट किया. I enjoyed that a lot, and I think खड़गपुर में given the ratio and given the fact that it is important to have representation, I think representation is built in by design, right? SF में SN से head होती है, drams में usually SN से gov होती है. I think that has helped. So if anybody is interested in taking up this opportunity, that opportunity is there. Of course it is difficult because हमारे first year में I think me, and I speak for a lot of my friends, we all didn't know how to deal with a lot of this unwanted attention जो मिलता था लड़कियों को. attention, judgment. So anything you do can be construed very, very differently. Um, but having said that, though, matlab, I have seen both in SF and in RAMS, the people I work with, ना मेरे जो दोस्त थे उन दोनों settings में, were also very, very played an important role in making me feel comfortable in that sphere and making me, insisting that I use my voice, or I participate, or they wanted to hear from me. And I felt that a lot with my friends at Kharagpur, um, which put me in good stead when I went into consulting. Because like engineering, I think even in the corporate setup, it is very, very skewed towards men than women.
Yeah.
I remember in my second or third year in consulting, walking into a board meeting for a client and having 49 other members as men, and me being the only female in the room. It was daunting, but then I think some of these experiences also made me feel comfortable with speaking up and participating.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you believe that like KGP has prepared you for the corporate world. But doesn't it mean that you get comfortable with the environment around you? जैसे कि हमको लगता है कि हाँ ऐसे ही होता है. Things which are just like designed for male members, हमें लगता है this is the way, यही सही तरीका है I think. But like you think that right कि हम comfortable हो जाते हैं and we don't think that this is not right. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So how did you deal with it? Like what do you think about this? You got
Absolutely.
comfortable.
Yeah, it took me time to realize what you are saying, Neha. I think you are very young and you've already recognized this. मुझे time लगा था, to be honest. I think पहले my approach was to be more like men, to be part of that setting. It was much later in life that I realized that there is a different kind of leadership, there's a different kind of presence that women can also bring, which is also correct. It's different, but it's also correct. But the fact that you have very less role models to look up to say, okay, this is also a path I can follow, I didn't know that early on. I figured that out much later in life. And I think also in corporate India, and I can speak for McKinsey in the later part of my stay there, this was also talked about a lot, which is how do you become an authentic leader and not try to emulate others or imitate others. And I think it's very, very true for women, because वो होता that you try to be more like the guys, fit in with the guys.
Adjust करने लगते हैं हम.
Correct. And you feel this is the way things should be done. But I think last 5 years में, like I said, this learning is quite recent. Last 5-6 years में, I've been thinking about the fact that there are different kinds of leaders and women can be different as well. And that's something to celebrate and see more of.
Okay, so like do you feel like, can you share any experience that like you felt in McKinsey or somewhere else ki this thing, like the setup is designed just for male, like they didn't think about a female member to be present there? Was there something like this?
A bunch of things actually. एक तो office का temperature. I don't know if you've seen the latest research.
Yeah.
It talks about the fact that offices are actually designed more for male bodies and male physiology than for women, right?
When I started my corporate journey, I was shivering like this. I mean, like क्यों रखते हैं ये लोग इतना इसी का टेम्परेचर, कौन काम कर पाता है यहाँ? But yeah, it's true. I have also faced this.
Exactly. So I used to have like a shawl and a sweater and like this fuzzy slippers in the desk कि पहुंचो और काम करो तो वही पहन के काम करो.
Every time hoodie रहता था कि hoodie के साथ ही करना है काम.
Exactly. So that is one. Although I don't know if we can be generalize this. Maybe some women do feel warmer than others. I don't know if that research is true, but it was an interesting piece of research. The other thing which is actually quite interesting in corporate India that I've seen is the absence of washrooms, right? The fact that the ladies' washroom will always be closed.
Yeah.
and you will have to go and find someone to open the ladies washroom. um, Not in all companies, but in some of the clients that I've worked for, and that always felt like they don't expect women to be here.
Yeah.
um, but other than that, I think last 10, like a decade and a half, I've seen a lot of change. I've seen a lot of change, and I've seen a lot more women come into uh, senior discussions, be present in rooms, and be present like their authentic self, like they are. There's an interesting anecdote that one of my senior colleagues at McKinsey used to talk about, that they were having this client discussion, right? And as like in corporate India, you expect to be like, if professional means you're prim and proper, you're not wearing like jewelry and bindi and
Yeah.
all of those things. And there was the senior client woman who came in like full pizzazz, right? चूड़ी भी पहना था और बिंदी भी पहना था और झुमके भी
Wow.
पहने थे. And you form a very quick judgment that
True.
oh, she's different, and let's see what. But she was doing her job really well. Like, she was there, she was everything you need a leader to be, and she was completely herself.
Wow. Yeah.
um, so that also I've struggled with, which is this idea of wearing, like, personally I've struggled with, like, blazers and trousers. And I think for a place like India, um, there should be more representation of what our sort of formal clothing is in the workplace.
So we are now going to talk about an incident, a recent incident which you shared with us, that reminded you of something which happened 14 years ago on campus. So what exactly that was, like what happened there? Please share it with us. Yeah.
Thank you for asking me. I know we spoke about this. I think earlier this year you would have heard of this IIT Guwahati incident that
Yeah,
is still
yeah.
under trial. When that incident happened, um, I got together with some of my friends, batchmates, and friends and seniors from SN at KGP to put together some kind of assistance for the survivor. We wanted to help, and in course of that effort, I was reminded of a similar, I won't say same, but similar incident that happened in my fourth year when I was in Kharagpur. Um, I was the SSM of SN at that time, and there was a uh, first year, second year, I think first or second year, who actually was being harassed by her batchmates online. And yeah, she came to us, and at that point in time हम लोगों ने सोचा कि maybe the best way to deal with this is to go and speak to the guys, go and speak to the hall president of the guys जिन्होंने ये किया था, and get them to apologize, um, rather than taking it to authorities.
Okay.
So that had happened, and I was thinking back and I was saying, would I have done something different? Did I take it as seriously as I should have?
Yeah.
And I, fortunately for me, I feel that I was fortunate enough to speak to the person who had faced this issue, faced this kind of behavior, and I felt I owed her an apology, because 14 years later, when I think about it, I think I should have handled it differently. I think I should have stressed for better action, faster action. I think maybe at that point in time, I just didn't know how the authorities will react. Maybe the fear was it will be too extreme, and we didn't want something like that to happen. Like, when you go to authorities, either nothing will happen or something extremely, like, outlier will happen. Right? Something extreme action will be taken, and maybe that
Or,
was the fear in my mind.
or maybe was it like your batchmates, or maybe like somewhere you got accustomed to that environment कि हाँ ये हो सकता है, ये मतलब इतना harsh नहीं है, maybe मतलब because you
Maybe,
were
maybe.
accustomed to that environment, right? And you were surrounded by the guys, and you might think that हाँ ये तो ये लोग कर ही सकते हैं, मतलब ऐसा
Yeah, the
कुछ.
fact, yeah, no, you're right, Neha. The fact that this happened was not a surprise
हम्म.
because ऐसा होता आ रहा था.
हम्म.
And maybe you're right, like at some level you normalize कि हाँ ये तो होता है, and you wrongly place the onus of being careful on the girl.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
कि
We.
तुमको संभल के रहना चाहिए कि तुम्हारे साथ ये नहीं हो. बट द फैक्ट इज जो हुआ वो गलत है और जिसने किया उसको उसका
पनिशमेंट.
एक्शन वो मिलना चाहिए.
मिलना चाहिए.
Which I think over time I also started to realize that what was happening there was not right. And because there was no precedent जो हम लोग ने अपने टाइम पे देखा था, it was more like as long as you stay within this, um, you don't face that kind of harassment, then you are saving yourself, you're protecting yourself, and that's the right approach. But it's not the right approach, right? So I think yeah, absolutely right. I think some of that did play a role.
Yeah, yeah. I recently read this post on like on Facebook. The Awaz, they publish blogs or post about KGP life. So right now, like the situation has worse. Like, मतलब काफी ज़्यादा issues like women are facing over there. Female students are facing over there. तो मतलब what we can do about it, Riti, like if you think uh, how we can improve this situation at KGP so
Right.
that female students feel better at that place, feel safe that place at that place. So like I was thinking about it, so I want to hear from you कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं ऐसा कि they don't feel that annoyed.
Yeah.
They feel free to research, to go and roam around, to explore things. So क्योंकि आई रिमेंबर जब मैं मेरा फर्स्ट ईयर था, व्हेन वी जस्ट एंटर्ड, हमको ये सजेशन मिला था कि हमको हमारे हप्पी ने हॉल
Hmm.
प्रेसिडेंट ने ये सजेशन दिया था कि पैन लूप में नहीं जाना है शाम होने के बाद. दिस वाज सो वियर्ड.
I know. I know.
लाइक दिस वाज आवर कैंपस आल्सो. सो या, तो क्या कर सकते हैं ऐसा.
If you ask me, Neha, I believe that alumni have a big role to play here.
हाँ. हाँ.
Uh, जैसे मैं now I'm able to share my learnings in hindsight. I'm sure on the male side, on the men's side, there is learning as well. I'm sure people don't look back at KGP and say जो हम लोगों ने किया था वो सही किया था, especially in this context of being sexist or gender related issues. I also think that men have gone through that learning and students right now can benefit from that learning. And the more that dialogue and those sharing of stories um, or perspectives that have changed and how they have changed become more socialized, become more accessible, I think students will therefore see a reality that is much different than what they're seeing in that bubble. KGP के साथ ये problem है. Sometimes when you talk about changing things, people say that अरे बाहर की दुनिया जैसे है KGP वो reflect करता है. But the other thing can also be true, right? And I think I'm borrowing this from one of the juniors who spoke about it in a documentary, is that unless you change things in that bubble, and where you have the power to change things, how will you make the world better, right? It's not like as supposedly the cream of the nation, as supposedly as the brightest people in the nation, how do you accept without question uh, the the mores, the norms that are in place, and why do you not take the responsibility of changing it within KGP and or wherever you are? KGP is just an example, right? One of the examples, and then the world will follow. तो मुझे लगता है कि जो learnings हुई हैं, and I speak a lot to my guy friends, my husband, his friends about this. And there has been they all say that at that time, most of them, like without exception, say that that time they didn't know a lot of things that they know now. I would believe that with the explosion of social media, access to online content, some of that would have changed. I am saddened to hear it hasn't. But the fact that like so much conversation is out there, should find a way to reach people at KGP.
या आई होप ये पॉडकास्ट भी हेल्प करे, मतलब people who are there in KGP, especially like male students, they feel what like women or what female students are going through. So I hope that happens. So one last question, Riti. So if you have to give an advice or suggestion to Riti who is still a college student, what would it be?
I would say don't try to fit in. I have faced that in work also. And then, like I said, I realized much later that it's okay to stand out. It's
Yeah.
okay to be different. And as young people, we put ourselves under a lot of pressure to belong, to fit into an environment, to be like what we are seeing, to be like others that we are seeing in that environment, to feel at home. I would say it's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to be different, and it's
Yeah, this advice is like extremely valuable, and especially for women, I feel. Yeah,
huh.
we try this a lot to fit in.
Huh.
So yeah, Riti, it was wonderful talking to you, and I hope students को भी उतना ही अच्छा लगे जितना मुझे आपसे बात करके अच्छा लगा. Like thank you so much for your time, Riti. Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for doing this. And I would just like to tell the students, if at Kharagpur, especially the female ones, that if at any point in time they feel they need to reach out for help, like to any of us, we are there and we are keen to be of help.
Yeah.